What's up, y'all? It's your boy JD, and I'm here with the guy,
the man, the adult. It's Rosie,
and we're here to review and discuss Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I always fuck up her name, man.
So this doesn't end well already.
Well, all right. So Hellblade is the story of Senua.
Okay.
So let's go back a little bit. It's made by Ninja Theory. Okay. Same guys that made Enslaved, DMC Devil May Cry, Heavenly Sword. They are apparently there's a theme to this particular game. It's made by a very small team. It took 2 years to make. I think it was 12 or 16 people.
Okay.
A really small amount, all things considered.
10. You said 16 people?
Yeah. Some people definitely double dipped as far as responsibilities. The video editor is actually the voice and face of Senua.
Okay.
First time acting, period. So.
How'd that go?
Not too bad.
Okay.
All things considered. Runs on the Unreal Engine, PC and PlayStation, no Xbox release. It's $30.
Oh, it's not okay. That's good.
No physical copy of it. They purposely did it as a statement for gaming. Hey, if you guys support the product, you guys will put money into it. They urged people to buy the game because they go, hey, it's pretty much a labor of love for them.
That's great. I heard a lot of backlash from it too because of DMC.
Oh yeah, DMC. There was some issues. I can't think of his name, Tareem or Tarkeem or whatever.
Yeah.
Who is the creative director? He pretty much made Dante look like him.
Right. I heard about that.
And some people are upset about that. But I mean, I was upset about that too, just because I was like, hey, he's not listening to people. But when it comes to this game, Senua's Sacrifice or Hellblade is essentially the story of a girl named Senua who's a Viking. Who has to journey to, I believe, Helheim and then Hell, with one L, to rescue her beloved, which is Dillian.
Damn, this almost sounds like Dante's Inferno.
You know what? That's actually, it's the female versions of Dante's Inferno, really.
Okay.
The game, one of the actual really cool things about the game is your character is very obviously afflicted with some sort of psychotic
hallucination
issue. She has psychosis. Okay. So all of what she experiences can sometimes not be real, and some of the things that she experiences is real.
Oh, that must suck.
Yeah, and so she hears voices consistently.
Are they helpful or are they like, hey, look out? Or like, hey, just jump in this miasma. Like, okay, cool.
Well, they definitely have a sense of self-preservation. They go, turn back. No one will know if you don't, do this and all that stuff. No. And she will occasionally talk to the voices. She'll tell them to shut up, or she'll be like, there's no turning back, and stuff like that. They serve a gameplay purpose for sure.
Yeah.
Their objective is to sort of be the inner reflection of the character. So her bouts with confidence sometimes to warn her of like her sixth senses.
I will say that when I was watching you play, that was like the sickest thing. She's like, look out!
Yeah, right. If you're in combat and someone's about to hit you from behind or something like that, or someone is behind you, they'll go, look out, watch out, and all that other stuff. And it's very, very, it goes very in depth with sort of what the voices are used for. There's no like game prompts. So the characters themselves, or the voices themselves are your prompt. Okay. They'll be like, you need to climb that ladder, right? And then they don't say it like that. They'll be like, she needs to climb the ladder. Is she gonna climb it? Don't look down, and then you're like,
great.
You're like, okay, cool, So,
I'm gonna climb that ladder.
Yeah, right. I better climb this ladder. Or like, she needs to focus, and focusing is hitting R2. The character zooms in, but when you're in combat, it slows down time and allows her to, because she's actually a really good swordsman, but she just doubts herself a lot. So. Stuff like that. And then as the game progresses, it's told by this third person over the shoulder camera angle where, which there's a lot of rotating cameras. I didn't realize it till the end of the game. There's so many times the camera's spinning around you and rotating, and then You know, you're going one place and you're going the other and all that jazz. So there's a lot of that stuff going on, which is fine. Who cares? But what?
I saw an aspect of the game I want to talk about, and that was the hand, the dark hand.
Right, so that's sort of your continues in your lives. So what happens is when you get in your first fight, you go through, you do some stuff, and then I believe you're supposed to die your first fight, and what happens is she like rah, rah, and gets taken over by stuff. It's called the rot, and the rot is essentially at the base of her hand when the game starts. And as you progressively die, if you continuously die in a certain area, the rot goes higher and higher and higher. Now they warn you and they state if the rot reaches Senua's head, she dies, and her story ends, and all progress is reset. So they delete your save file.
So that's the bad ending.
Well, I guess, yeah. So that's something that's sort of interesting. And the other interesting thing about it is you don't know if that rot exists or if it's fake. Main reason why is her psychosis does come into play, and there's a lot of Norse mythology wrapped in here. So I'm talking like the main Norse god that you deal with is Hela, who's like the god. She's pretty much like the Norse like Lucifer. And what ends up happening is she actually is she's shown a couple times, but you don't know if she's actually real or some of the things that do happen are real. I want to say it actually is real. Because they do dabble in the sort of magical aspect.
Were you able to touch it or touch her?
There was some fighting.
Okay.
It definitely was. So you would think so, because like she is wounded as a result. So
right.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, I never shadow boxed and got hurt.
Right. That's true. That's very true. But there's all that. Is this real? Is this not real? Kind of stuff happening. And the concept of the sacrifice could mean a multitude of things, all things considered. But as you progress through the game, you get these sort of like little like folklore lore thingies that you can kind of examine, and they tell you a little bit of story. You hear about Loki, you hear about the Gram, which is what's called the blade. Odinson.
So to talk about like all the gods, are all the gods in this world? In some way? They
mention the folklore about them so much, but the one that you really hear about is Hela. Or the one that you experience is Hela.
Of course, because you're on the world.
You deal with Soot, and
afterward.
Soot is he's a fire god, and then there's another one about hallucinations.
I don't know the name.
Yeah, I forget his name, but there's a lot of that stuff that's going on in there, and it makes the world seem really rich. Speaking of the world itself, like graphically, obviously the game stands out.
Yeah.
It runs on the Unreal Engine. They use facial capture for Senua, who's really the only character that actually is 3D and like facially captured. Hela's 3D, but there's not really too much face capture on her. And the other characters, what?
From what I've seen from some of the facial captures, some of that look like FMV.
Yeah, it was FMV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is interesting when you look at it, because I'm just like, well, okay, fuck it, right?
No, that's great.
I saw Druth is the druid, and at first it was hard to make him out because you can't really tell. Senua's dad, same thing. It's kind of hard to tell, but when you see Dillion is
Dylan.
Well, I know, right? But it's apparently Dillion, so yeah. But yeah, he's not flexing or anything like that.
Son, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. But there's a lot of focus on her, and then the rest of the characters are real life versions, so it's kind of different to see. I was a little surprised. I was like, is that a real? Okay.
Yeah, so I was looking at some of the cutscenes, especially with the fire guy. I was looking at, I was like, is that like FNZ?
Is that a real homie?
We are almost there. I was like, that looks so realistic.
Right, yeah. And I was just like, okay, cool, fuck it. Whatever. But as the story progresses and you start to figure things out, You visit a lot of different areas. It's very themed. When you first get to Helheim, it's pretty basic. You know, you go through a little jungle area. You have a couple fights, and then when you go to the illusions person, there's a lot of puzzles based around illusions. Then you go to fireplace. There's a lot of places. There's a lot based around fire and like running through it and figuring out a path and all that stuff because you could die. And then you get into the actual main area, and it's around darkness, and then that's like dealing with Senua's own darkness and all that stuff and whatnot.
Is that more metaphor or like literal?
Both.
Okay.
She's got a lot of her little her own like life and things that happen in her own life that are very dark. And then, you know, it's a very dark area to begin with, and she's lighting torches everywhere all the time. And the monsters that there's a monster that can chase her if she's in the dark.
Oh.
So it's like a mentality thing. It could be implied, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of that stuff going on, and they really do. Every area is definitely themed very well as far as to how the game operates. And then she's got like the trials that she has to go through to sort of become a stronger person and to believe in herself and all that stuff. And it's kind of interesting to note. I don't think it's a spoiler, but initially the voices, like if you do good in combat, initially the voices are like, he's too strong, you know, or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, look out and all that stuff. If you smoke a bunch of dudes after the trials, they're like, she's got this, or she can handle it.
Really?
And I'm like, yeah, you damn right, I'm fucking these dudes up. Or they'll be like, good job, and stuff like that. And that's a good thing to hear. It's so weird because that puts you into her perspective because you're now getting positive reinforcement.
I haven't played the game, but I wonder if that's just like her, like some sort of subconscious of her. Mm-hmm. Or just like,
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like, I got this. Like, maybe that's her doubt, like you said, doubting herself. Like, oh, walk out. It's like, you're telling yourself that, but maybe the voices, because did you ever explain the voices or who they are?
The voices are in her head.
Okay, I thought maybe they may have been like, because she's in hell, essentially, they were like spirits.
No, there is a bit of madness to her.
Okay.
So yeah, no, definitely psychosis. So the voices themselves are actually her.
Well, she's never alone.
Yeah, pretty much. But and it's actually kind of interesting when you're doing the last fight area. You only hear one other voice for the entirety of it. It's just one person.
Oh.
Yeah. And you're just like, okay, cool, fuck it, and it's a nice voice too. Look out, you know, and you're like, okay, all right, let me parry you. Speaking of the game, speaking of that parrying and the combat is pretty basic. You've got your light, your medium, or your light, your heavy attack. You've got a melee attack to guard break. Your heavy attacks can also guard break, and then you've got dodge, block, and parry. And then you have a focus ability, which slows down time and allows you to cut people up. Pretty simple. Some of the enemies drift back into this dark realm, and then if you focus, you bring them out. Or depending on what weapon you have, if you parry while an enemy attacks you, you can focus them into reality. They're like in the darkness, and then you parry them into
the light.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty sick.
So yeah, so there's definitely some aspects to the combat that are actually really good. The enemies gang up on you all the time, so it's actually kind of cool to see your character just slowly like looking around and eyeballing what you can do. You definitely got to play a poking game. It's like Street Fighter all over again, dude, I'm telling you.
Play them footsies.
Play them footsies. And then the bosses themselves are actually pretty interesting as well. But like sound-wise, you know, voices are no one does a bad job. Everyone does pretty good job. Senua definitely, I like the yelling that she does. Like you can feel the anger when she's fighting.
From what the cutscene is showing of her voice and acting, she's very soft-spoken.
She's chill, yeah.
Yeah. But when she's in a fight, she's like, ah! Like you can feel like she's got that anger. Like
one of the bosses that she gets ready to fight, she's like, ah! Ah! And she's like getting pumped up, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm fucking this guy out. Like, you know, whatever, let's do it.
Diplomacy failed.
Yeah, pretty much. Didn't pass that speech check, so it's time to fucking throw down. And there's a lot of inner dialogue. The voices I want to say are actually Senua's voice. Just They sound a little bit different though.
Yeah, so I'm saying it sounded like I could have sworn I heard a
They
guy.
Druth is the guy. Dillian is the other guy that you'll hear from time to time. Dillian is very soft-spoken, so he'll be like, "You can do it," you know. Okay. And then Druth is like, "When I was in combat," and he talks like that. And then there's your dad who talks like a demon, who's like, "In the dark ages," or some shit. I can't do the actual voice.
I would love to meet that person in real life.
Hey guys, I'll take a number 6. Thanks. Can't handle that voice, can you? Yeah, right. No, I can't. It's been a while. But they have those are the main 3 like voices, and then the rest of the time you get, her voice is her inner voice. Her mom will talk to her sometimes. There's a lot of that stuff going on, but
that's cool.
There's a big there's a lot of dialogue that Senua and her voices are sort of telling you, and that's what really guides you. They're like, follow this if you get lost, or whatever the case is. So they all sound good when it comes to that. There's not really any music, except for a couple fight scenes.
Yeah, I assume that would kill it.
The last fight has music in it, and it's actually really good music, but it can be a long fight. So it was replaying a little bit for me, and I was just like, I don't care. At least the song's cool, And I was exhausted, just trying to beat it, and I was like, let's do it, And then yeah.
So you said it was how much?
I was like around $30.
That's a good price.
It's pretty good price, all things considered. The game itself, I would say, it's a hit or miss, and the main reason why is because if you're someone who jumps into video games and you're just wanting to be entertained, the voices and all that stuff will put you off, because you're gonna look at it and you're gonna go, well, like, what the hell, man? Like, I don't give a fuck about this. Like, this is too creepy.
Cool. Would you consider that like maybe a con of the game, or like a pro con? Like,
well,
is it just a preference?
I think it's a preference, because if I'm being honest here, as far as pros and cons go, or anything like that for this game, the pros of the game is that it's shorter, it is cheaper, and by shorter I mean it's a package deal in the sense of it starts, it ends. There's a little bit of a pacing thing, but you get over it. And for the most part, the gameplay is solid. In my opinion, the gameplay is solid. If there isn't one part of the gameplay that is more than the other, it's more balanced. So like maybe if you're playing Uncharted, you're okay with exploration and a little bit of story, but you also want the gunfights.
Right.
So that's balanced. Some other games might be like, the story on this game is fucking bullshit. I just want to get out there and shoot somebody. Sometimes it's been like Deus Ex or something for me.
Right.
Where I'm just like, let me just fucking level up.
I don't care about the story. I didn't ask for this.
Exactly, right? But as far as cons, I don't think I have a con for this game. For what the game set out to accomplish, it's an examination of a particular mental disorder, I guess you'd call it. And they show that it's a character that's not perfect, which is fine. The way that she's created, the way that she looks, the struggles that she has, she's not supposed to be this like beautified character, right? She's just a girl that's going through some shit. Right. I don't even think she's probably just 18 or younger.
She sacrificed real quick.
Yeah. And then, after that, you're just kind of, left, like once you beat the game, you're just like, there's a sense of understanding, and then you're just like, okay, cool.
That's all that.
Yeah. So no cons. Pros, it's a fun game. The gameplay is pretty solid. And if you go into the game for what it is and expect that there's a developer that's pushing the limits of what's acceptable as far as a gaming character or anything like that, then you're gonna walk out happy. Okay. I would say for the price of $30, if that's your intent, then yes.
I mean, it sounds fair.
It is fair. It is fair. It's fair in my opinion. Right. It's a good intent. Pretty solid game.
Sounds like it would be a very emotional game, like a heavy burden.
It didn't impact me too emotionally. Not necessarily until the end. I mean, I was impacted pretty emotionally by Final Fantasy 15. Damn. But only reason why is because I have friends.
That's it? I thought you were going to come on with it. Well, I've been emotionally impacted because they're friends and I have friends.
Well, because I could see my friends in those people, so that's why it impacted me more emotionally. Because I was like, I could totally see that happening. But with Senua, I mean, hey, we all know I've got daddy issues, but it's not the end of the world for me. You know what I mean? So maybe it doesn't string out to me as much, but you can still relate to someone without having the exact same thing happen to you, right?
Sure.
You can see some aspects of the character.
That's what I was wondering. Like, did you have emotional? Was it emotional for you?
I mean, the end, the character grew.
Because like when I was watching the fire scene, all that, it was just like, man, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and her like having voices in your head. I've actually dealt with that a little bit too. A lot of them just not as extreme as hers, but
yeah. Or like the burning of her cheek or something like that, which she's like, ah! And I was like, oh goddamn. Yeah, that was right before the trials actually started. So yeah, there's a lot of that stuff going on, and it can definitely, like, I don't want to use the term like trigger because I think that's a stupid term in my opinion, but when people are saying, you know,
invoke.
Yeah, when they're going, well, they had this experience, it reminds me of this experience. Right. I would look at it as, I would still examine the game and play it for what it is. It's not trying to say anything about a particular person that is afflicted with that. It's just this person has this, and this is their story. So, pretty much it.
Cool. So,
I'd recommend it. $30, pretty solid game. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Okay, don't. But, outside of that, I'm your boy, the kid, the unknown, JD.
And I'm the adult, the man, Rosie. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Forever.